So how do variations affect the program and extensions of time? And what would you say contractors should be considering that they typically don't?
So it depends on the variation itself, obviously, and it depends on the contract, and it depends on the circumstances, the point of the program. There's lots. So that what I'm gonna the advice and how I'm gonna answer that question is very, very overall and vague because it all depends on those variables, and no two contracts are the same, no two projects are the same. So depending on the time frame, for example, if you've got an 18-month project due to complete on the 1st of June, and all of a sudden they give you a new interior design in March or May, that's going to cause problems. That's going to cause an extension of time. One, you need to have time to price it, plan it, and obviously pay for it. That's an extension of time. What people don't understand when it comes to extension of times is extensions of time do not necessarily, and variation. So a variation to a contract does not necessarily mean it's an extension of time, and it does not necessarily mean that there's additional cost. So it's a difficult question to answer because there are so many variables. But if the information has come at a late stage, and I always recommend when looking at a program, if you need design information by X date, you should stipulate that. If it's not in your contract, which is the ideal scenario, then you need to have it in writing that we need this information by this date. You also need to make sure that you have done your whatever it is in the contract that you've agreed to. So say, for example, if the process is an application or a tech sub or a submission of some information and you need to give them 4 weeks, you need to make sure you've given them 4 weeks, whatever it may be. But if they haven't, if the employer, whoever your employer is, whether it's a subcontractor, end user, client, a company,
Yeah.
main contractor, whatever, if they haven't given you the information in due course or to allow you, prevented you from completing your obligations, then you are an extension. You are eligible for an extension of time, but you need to check your contract. Not all variations mean you've got an extension of time. You have to prove it. So if they've prevented you from doing that, however, what people have got to be careful about with the extension of times is sometimes you'll have a concurrent clause. So say, for example, I'm going to use decoration as an easy example. Nobody had given the color. So you've got 5 flats. Flat one and flat two, you didn't know what the color they were going to be. So you weren't physically able to install those because the client hadn't told you what color they wanted. That, and you haven't completed those because you haven't been able to because you don't know what color it is. So they've prevented you from completing that you would be allowed an extension of time, and you do an extension of time case. And that I would expect to come with a cost because you've got additional management time. However, if flats 3, 4, and 5, if you did have the colour but you haven't delivered, that's a concurrent delay because that's your fault. So the whole building can't be handed over unless all 5 of the projects are completed at the same time. Now, when you've got a concurrent delay, it means they're responsible for one half and you're responsible for the other. Generally, in those circumstances, depending on the contract, it would mean that yes, you wouldn't get LADs, which are damages for the delay, but you wouldn't. It's a happy medium is you wouldn't get additional costs for the delay, but you wouldn't get charged for the LADs for being delayed, if that makes sense. So yes, you get the extension of time, you don't get the loss and expense that goes with it. And yes, you'll get the extension of time, but unless the variation is there's a change in, for example, it was supposed to be white and then it's 5 different colours, there is a cost associated with installing 5 different colours because it's additional work and things rather than everything all being white. You'd get a cost variation, but you wouldn't get an extension of time variation. So it's a bit complicated and it all depends on the different variables, but I hope that
Yeah.
answers your question.